Okay, it is a Saturday about lunchtime, just coming up on lunchtime. The weather, a lot like it was yesterday in terms of temperatures around Central California. In Northern California, there's some heat advisories way up there by kind of by Mount Shasta, Redding area, and into the Pacific Northwest where it's really hot. Southern California's got the June gloom. We've got the marine layer. This is today's picture, which looks a lot like yesterday's picture from Mount Tamalpais looking out over the fog. And so you go, yeah, the marine layer's fairly deep again today. And so that's why temperatures are, have started off on the cool edge. I think we're going to see some burn off today. One of the things I'm picking out here is when I say burn off along the coastal section, I think like yesterday, we'll see a little bit of sun pop through, which is not atypical. One of the things you notice is the marine layer, see how it's not pushing all the way into the Mill Valley, it's burned back already. And you're also seeing it start to curve down over the hill. When it starts to curve down like that, that's usually high pressure inland pressing down on it and restricting it, and it's kind of burning it back a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on it. I think what we could do, let's try this. Maybe if we'll put a loop on it, we'll see sometimes you can pick out the movement. So there it is. Yeah, it's not burning, it's not turning down yet. And then you should start to see it burn back out of Mill Valley. Yeah, see how it's starting to go the other way? That's the high pressure working against it and then pushing back. So it's a burn off. So this is about lunchtime today. Sensen Beach, you're going to see a little bit of clearing today. We can look at the satellite image and you can see kind of the same idea. So the reason for the depth in marine layer, the reason for the day after day of a lot of fog at the coast is this low pressure center sitting here, not supposed to be there. The Pacific high, we talked about that yesterday, is north. That's why we're seeing, I don't know about records, maybe see some records, but you have heat advisories up towards Seattle, Washington, Oregon, parts of Northern California. There's a heat advisory for today. Down further south where this low exists, you've got the copious amounts of fog pushing into Southern California, not copious, but just a bit. And then you've got a break here, Santa Barbara, you're starting to clear out a little bit. And you can kind of just see the general burn. You also see some moisture, afternoon thunderstorms up around Lake Tahoe if you're been traveling up there or if you are going backpacking or camping or whatever next few days. It's kind of keep doing what it's been doing, which is lighting off thunderstorms. And you can already see some of this moisture, this instability. See the build up there in the afternoon? The moisture comes in, the sun heats the ground, the air rises, whether it hits these topographic features or not, and condenses. And so you're looking at the fuel that could later on this afternoon and probably will produce some thunderstorms. So we'll look at that. Yeah, so okay, gonna be a beautiful day. But very similar. Today's very similar to yesterday. So if you don't want to hang on, don't hang on. But what we are going to look at is Gizmo flu. That's awesome. It's got a video of that. We're going to talk about San Luis Reservoir, which I've never been to, but it's a big off-stream reservoir in California. It's a big one, like 2 million. Is it 2 million acre feet? Yeah, it's big. Okay, so right now we get to the forecast. Here's the GFS, vorticity. And first thing I want you to keep an eye, there's that low. We saw that in the visible satellite image. And you see it kind of goes in and then kicks through. So as it goes in and kicks through, that is on Sunday afternoon. It kind of pushes in our direction tomorrow afternoon in our direction towards the east. It will probably see more clearing. Like I think the beaches tomorrow in Northern California will see more clearing. I think Southern California, you'll see clearing later on in the day, but that low is moving. It's on the move. And because it's on the move, the weather's going to change from what we had today to what we're going to see tomorrow. And that will be mainly along the coastal sections where the fog will be pushed around a little bit. It may come in a little more and burn off earlier. It may come in a little less and not burn off at all, but it's going to be a change. Here is more weather coming through the jet stream. This is just down the road now. I just want you to see kind of what I'm looking at. So the first thing when you're looking at all this, we're all the way to June 15th, there's no heat waves in the forecast for us, which is awesome. And we're not anticipating, when I look at a pattern like this, it's so progressive. Look at that. It's so progressive. I assume that we're not going to be seeing any air quality alerts, any high fire danger things. Fire danger always an issue, but the longer you can go without getting red flag warnings and low fuel moistures, the better. And this pattern that I just showed you, that those pulses riding along the jet stream, those are going to keep that from happening, or if that occurs. HRRR, I'll move up a little bit here. Let's see if I can push that up. There it is. And this is short, rapid update model, and we're just looking at thunderstorms. So it's going to only go out 24 hours. So afternoon buildup. See the greens right in here? See this starting to show up? So that's the sun heats the ground. The air rises, warm air rises. It rises into that cooler air mass aloft or that moister air mass aloft and begins to form convective cells. Convection, which is thunderstorms. And so you can see here we're at, I got to move this down a little bit more. There we go. We're at Saturday afternoon. So a little bit of stuff up there, right? Saturday afternoon here. That's not at, yesterday there was quite a few thunderstorms, and the day before. This is pretty awesome cell. So if you're around the Big Bear area, South Lake Tahoe, same thing as yesterday. And you're backpacking or hiking, pay attention to that. And then it kind of dies out as the evening comes on. And so that pattern, that diurnal pattern of, hot days, cumulus clouds, chance of a thunder shower, that's going to continue really for the next couple of days. And I suspect, and it has we've had thunderstorms out in those areas in the eastern part of California, southern California, for the last 3 or 4 days. So this map shows the high pressure out here in the Pacific Northwest. We've got heat here. And you go, well, what's that clearing area? Well, that's the high pressure compressing the marine layer and pushing it away from the coast and giving you clearing. So that's an indication of the Pacific high establishing itself. Should be down here, but it's up there. Down here, we've got this low, which is bringing us the weather that I've been showing you, which is that afternoon thunder showers, deeper marine layer, shallow marine layer. Subtle changes. What else we got? Thunderstorms, big storms out here. We'll look at that. What I wanted to show you here was the smoke from Manitoba, from the Canadian continent, Canadian plate. There's just a bunch of fires. And we can take a look at them. I think I got them here. Yeah. So you can see all the fires here. So this is the smoke model. And you can see these are all fires. Those little orange areas, those are all individual fires. We can see the weather system tied in here, and that's transporting the smoke further south. So it's pretty high. By the time it gets into the southern United States, the smoke is pretty much up there. But in the lower elevations, the high part, in the northern regions, the lower elevations are noticing smoke. And it's unhealthy. There's air quality alerts in parts of Minnesota, parts of the Great Lakes region. And this has been going on for a while as well. But the thing to note is just how, I guess when you think about, what's going on, that looks like a satellite image, right? Well, it is essentially. It's the weather, the low pressure in here, wherever that is, or wherever the jet stream is right now in that zone, is creating this counterclockwise flow, which is probably tied into the upper level winds, obviously, and that's driving the smoke on our direction. So you can use weather and fire, right? Same thing. Here's the heat advisories: northern Washington, northeastern Washington, parts around the Puget Sound. Oregon, up around Hood River, heat advisories, and out towards Coos Bay, or at least in the inland spots by Ashland, heat advisories, and up by Whiskey Town, out of Redding. And again, that's that high pressure up here. Down here, we've got a lower pressure. And then here is your air quality alert. You can see all this smoke. These are air quality alerts for the northern part of Ohio, parts of Michigan, into Maine. Just a lot going on there in terms of smoke. And they've been breathing unhealthy air for a while. And smoke, that smoke model I showed you isn't showing ozone or it's just showing particulate, which is bad. PM 2.5, I think it is, parts per million. And it just tells you how the size of the particulate matter, and it can get lodged in your lungs or whatever and cause issues. So something to think about. In the meantime, the weekend, let's do some nature snacks right now. Mount Shasta, there's some of that moisture hanging out. Mount Shasta today is going to be pretty warm, 83 degrees, maybe a little warmer than that. The snow is really coming off quickly. Thinking about now, when you think about albedo, right? It's starting to get dirty, and you get areas like this side had snow all the way down last week when we were doing this. But what happens is you get some snow off the rocks, and those rocks heat up. And when those rocks heat up, it's not an albedo thing as much. Well, it is sort of, because rocks are darker and they heat up. But they heat up, and then they melt the snow around them, right? So it just goes. It's a feedback loop. Once things start to go, you get a little chink in the dam. All of a sudden, it just things get really warm, and the snow goes rapidly at the lower elevations, most certainly. Again, Mount Shasta, pretty warm today. This is Mount Whitney. Never climbed it. We talked about that once before. I probably should climb it once before I'm done. This is some of that moisture. I was looking at this camera earlier this morning, and you see it. There's moisture there. It is going to fill in, and you can almost see these are, you would call these altocumulus clouds, and that just indicates, okay, there's moisture at that level. It's going to get warmer and warmer and warmer, and that air, as the air rises, it's going to have fuel to produce further convection, producing potential thunderstorms, which we saw in the GFS, or in the HRRR, pardon me. So this is at the end of Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. Los Angeles today, you can go 73. Malibu is going to go 66. So Malibu's right up in here. Malibu Colony, right here. A lot of consternation about this whole Malibu area in terms of the history of it. We've talked about it a little bit, but the Ringes owned a property out here, and they kept it all private for years and years. And Malibu Colony came about when the movie industry got big, and they allowed, I think there was a mitigation measure of the Ringes to keep it private. They go, okay, we'll let you guys build some clapboard shacks. You know, there's like when you go up through Malibu on Highway 1, those little shacks you used to see. They were just meant to be temporary. And all of a sudden, Charlie Chaplin moves in, and Rita Hayworth, and all these people start moving into the Malibu Colony, and that's where it became what it became. But if you go back to like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they were just shacks. And I can remember being a kid driving along Highway 1 by the Malibu Pier, and they're not like they are now, but they were built they're just thrown up in an effort to, I think, to fulfill a requirement by the city, county, for the Ringes to keep the rest of, as a mitigation measure, to keep the property, the ranch open or closed and keeping it private. But it's interesting how the movie people moved in, and the Ringes, I can't remember her name, Mrs. Ringe, she loved the movie became sort of a, you know, a good situation for everybody. But that's an interesting book, King and Queen of Malibu. We've talked about that as well a few times. It's just interesting because Southern California in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Wild West, like nutty town for sure. This is, we didn't go to San Luis Reservoir. I guess I'm going to go to, no, I can't do it. Can I do it? I'm going to do it. Okay, this is brave stuff right here. I was looking at San Luis Reservoir earlier today. It is off-stream reservoir. Let's see if I can find it. I wonder if I can find it this easy. San Luis Reservoir, King City. Oh, no, I'm in trouble. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to get myself in trouble. San Luis Reservoir is a huge reservoir, 2 million acre feet, and it's off-stream, which means it takes this is North Shore, Hawaii. San Luis Reservoir takes its water. It doesn't get it from any stream that naturally flows into it. It was a dammed man-made reservoir in I think they started in 63. It ended in 71. They got it done. It's huge. It's one of the largest in this. I think it's one of the largest off-stream reservoirs in the United States. It's huge, but they just grab water from the California Aqueduct and the Delta Mendota canals, California Aqueduct, Delta Mendota, and they feed water into this huge area, and it just sits there, and it gets used for farming and whatever. But it's a really awesome reservoir. San Luis Reservoir, never been. This is in North Shore, Hawaii. This is where the big waves usually are, but in the winter, when you're facing north, the swells are coming from another direction. So the swells are really small on the North Shore. That's why you don't see much wave. Then in the winter months, this is where Pipeline is down here, and Rocky Point, Sunset Beach, all the big wave spots, even Waimea Bay down in here. I think that's Cana Point right there. But all the big wave spots down in here, and those spots in the winter light up 15, 25 foot. But in the summer, the swell all shifts around and comes from the south. So the South Shore over on Oahu, down towards where the airport is or the hotels, that's where the swell comes in. Okay, so we are looking at Halama now. We all know about Halama. This is the tip of Point Conception. Nice day there. Temperatures in Halama taking about 65 degrees. And you see it's, a little bit of wind, Kids playing in the water. Awesome, awesome spot. Awesome spot. It really is. If you ever get a chance, go camp there. This is Saturday on Mammoth Mountain. My goodness, 62 degrees. Not bad. Not bad. And it's probably coming to the close of the day because it's probably, look at how quickly the snow went away here. It's going to get real soft this afternoon. It says 62 degrees now, but you've got all this. Remember what I was talking about? You got all that dirt around there. And now the dirt's heating up, and the dirt subsequently melts on the edges of that. Okay, This is Gizmo's first flight. Let's look at it. Us. Literally so fun to watch these two. So this is this morning. Apparently, I saw Sunny do the same thing where right here she lifts up and starts to fly, but then she lands, slips, falls, and then has to fly. It's scary at first, but there's no way she's not going to pull this off. So you got to keep watching. Beautiful day today. I'm kind of stoked for the weekend, actually. I'm stoked for these birds to live, too. There she goes. She's looking at thinking about it. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Wingspan on these birds, 8 feet. And the males get to about 14 pounds, and I think the females get to about 16 pounds, something like that. She's going to go. And the guy running the camera knows she's going to. There it goes. And she goes, okay, forget it. And then she slips. Jeez. Wait, what's the word there? She's forced to fly. Isn't that awesome? I have to say, well, I think that should be mandatory. I think, and they probably do in schools, but I would make that mandatory viewing in my class. Like, you got to watch these birds grow up. You got to watch how nature works. Now, the camera tries to track her, and I think they do find her. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. They find her in a tree because the camera is very limited. There she is. I think that's her. So that's her. There's a tree. I thought there was another nest, but there's another perch. And this is the tree nearby. So kind of going through the same thing again, but knowing she can do it, which is awesome. I know. Okay. And then this is the nest now. Oh, someone's back. That's awesome. A live picture of the nest. That looks like Mama. And she's back in the nest. And I think the babies come visit still. And I think there might be some feeding that occurs. And it could go on for another many weeks. But what an awesome just experience to watch these birds do what they've been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Unobstructed, really, I think not annoyed by us, not knowing that we're even here and getting to see them. That's awesome. Oh, she's talking. Let me see if I can get the volume to come up on my deal. Yeah, probably comes up on your deal. Okay, today's Saturday. I'll see you back here on Sunday.